Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat, and this is Microbikology. Today, we'll be using a mini bike hydraulic brake system and an adapter from my friends at OMB Warehouse and Grey Goat Garage. This hydraulic brake system is for the Baja Doodlebug DB30S, but it fits other applications as well. This application calls for an adapter. The adapter needs a spacer. The spacer I cut off of the stock brake adapter. Should look something like that. This one was tapered for something else, but basically what you do is you put this in a vise and you cut the entire spacer right off next to the weld. After you cut it, you're going to want to take it and scrape it over a file a few times. Get the burrs and stuff off of it. Make sure it's pretty flat. To make up for the weld that we cut off, we're going to add a washer on that cut side. Alright, and this adapter goes on this way. Alright guys, so that the axle passes through the big hole. That bottom hole lines up with the bracket, and then the top two holes will be for the caliper itself. Alright, now here's the explanation for the spacer that you cut off on the brake adapter. If this is the stock one, okay, and it goes on like this, right? Your spacer would be on that side of the bracket. I'm going to start by feeding the axle in through the right side, and then the brake adapter. After that, we're going to put our spacer. Alright, and this is going to give us the same space that we would have with the stock one. I'm going to put my cut side towards the wheel. And then I'm going to put a washer to ensure that I have a nice flat surface that'll go up against my bearing. This is the spacer that's going to be going on the left side. If I hold it up to my cut spacer and a washer, it's about the same. That is going to help to center our wheel while allowing us to use hydraulic brakes. Okay, now that you know how all the spacers and everything works, alright, I'm going to show you the easiest method to get these calipers on and aligned. With the rear of the bike up in the air, you can start by pushing the axle through a little bit, just so it doesn't fall out. Next, we're going to need our hydraulic brake system, our adapter, 4 small washers, and 2 bolts. You're going to want to keep your wrench handy. Get a seat or something, get comfortable, and get ready to do this. Okay, I like my banjo bolt to be facing in that orientation when I hold the caliper in my hand. Take a second to look at that. Notice it's facing the bleeder. Okay? That's going to have to do with routing the cable. You can loosen this nut up here just a little bit turn it sideways, and then tighten it. I'm going to feed it through the frame, just like that, and set it over here on my knee, conveniently next to the adapter. Next, you're going to stick your 2 bolts that hold the caliper onto the adapter, just like that. And then you add 2 washers to each bolt. What I do is put a few threads in on one of them, and then I'll swing this one into place and thread it in. And then I'll tighten both of them. Okay, now I kind of did this on purpose. If your threads stick out too far beyond the caliper in here, right, you could end up being too close to your rotor. There's a way to fix that. Don't panic. You just need 2 more of those washers. Okay, before I loosen this up, let me explain what we're going to be doing. In order to get rid of the threads on this side, right, but still use the same bolt, we're just going to add a washer to this side, okay? So it'll go bolt, washer, adapter, washer, washer, and then it'll thread into this section of the caliper. I'll get that on there, show you what it looks like. Alright, the one on the top has the washer now, the one on the bottom doesn't. This one has less threads poking through. This one has more. So you can make that adjustment, you know, if you're still sticking through, add another one. Going out that way is not going to hurt you. Obviously, try not to be ridiculous, but that can save you if you're in a bind. Plus, there's a tip. Watch out for that. Wham bam blah jam. Now we're cooking. Alright? We know that those aren't going to be in the way. This is a floating caliper, so it's going to move inward anyway, but it's always good to be safe. Next, we're just going to place this onto our axle. Alright, with the adapter on, I'm going to let you in on something. This hanger down here, okay, that this is going to attach to, planes out with the end of the welded in spacer that's on the bike from the factory. Alright, so what you're going to need now is another bolt, a lock washer, or a washer. I guess it wouldn't matter because I also have a nylock nut on there. Alright, for aesthetic purposes, I went ahead and added a washer on this side so that I matched these 2 bolts. Over here, I have my washer, my nylock nut. We're just finger torqued on there. Okay, now I just have the entire wheel assembly sitting on my knee. My bracket is loose, so I get that side to side action. We're not minging anything up. Now, I just line everything up. I'm going to feed my cut spacer and my washer in. Look, I get this whole thing balanced, just so you know I'm not jerking you around. I'm holding my spacer and my washer up with 2 fingers from the bottom. And then I'm just feeding my axle through. Okay, I'm up against the side of my bearing. I think I'm in my bearing. Oh, not yet. There it is. All right, I'll just twist it around until I find that bushing inside there. I'll get it. Probably would have been easier to have a screwdriver. Feed it through from the other side. Line the bushing up. Oh, there it is. Okay, now I can... Over on this side, I'm just going to let it hang down like that. Feed my spacer up in there. In between the bolts. And then send my axle through. Alright, I got my spacer. Almost there. Okay, I'm there. Push my, line it up with my bearing and then push my axle through. See everything. That'll help. There it is. Boom. Alright, I lowered the bike down flat. Now I'm going to add my nut and torque my axle. With the axle tight, I'll make sure that my caliper is moving around freely, and we're going to tighten that bolt. Okay, we should be able to spin this around. Everything's free spinning. These are fresh brake pads. It won't take long for these to wear themselves where they won't be rubbing at all. That 2 washers is the same spacing and alignment on the Doodlebugs as well. So that's 4 different installations on the MM80s and 2 on the Doodlebugs I've done. They've all been the same. Next, we're going to be routing our brake line. Since our banjo bolt is already facing the right direction, we're going to come outside the frame. We're going to take the whole handle assembly and pass it through to the other side. Once we're through to the other side, we're going to pass it between the crowns on the fork, out the front, and then up to our handlebars. Next, I'm going to slide one of my grips on. Alright, maybe not slide, more like vigorously worked it on there. In spacing these out from the grip, I find that 2 normal fingers, or like 1 5/8 sausage fingers, tends to give you just what you need. And then just go back and forth and evenly tighten each bolt. Over on this side of the bike, we're going to pass our zip ties from the inside out under the seat and over the frame. That way, these bulbous ends remain up underneath the frame and not sticking out right here. Alright, I just added 2 more zip ties up here in the front, up under the edge of my seat, and cut the ends off. The idea here that everything moves freely. Now we just pump them up. Ooh, those feel real good. And now we'll give them a test. Beautiful. Well, that's going to be all for today. But as always, it's a work in progress. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.